This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We turn to some funny places for support, but not everyone is a therapist. Not everyone is the one. Find your right match with BetterHelp. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps you identify your needs and preferences, and their 10-plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means they typically get it right the first time. But if you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations. Flexibility, completely online, and you can pause your subscription wherever you need and switch therapists anytime at no cost. We live in a situation now where there's no excuse not to at least try out therapy. And if you talk to anybody, most people say, yeah, we've tried it and it's been helpful and it might be helpful for you. And BetterHelp gives you the easiest way to dip your toe if you'd like. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. So find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/twisted. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/twisted. We're back. How's everybody doing? Annie, I know how you're doing because we just slept together recently, right?
Congratulations.
How you feeling? Everything good?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel good. I'm having a good day. It's beautiful out. It's fall. Back to good clothes.
Happy winter, autumn solstice to you both.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
We're taping this on a Wednesday the 23rd of September. So Lashana Tova maybe, to both of our Jewish listeners because it's Rosh Hashanah. We got Yom Kippur right around the corner. So I said both right there?
I thought that was a holiday. I didn't know that was a greeting. I thought that was a holiday that I was unsure of.
Rosh Hashanah is the holiday.
Right.
Lashana Tova is the greeting. We told the story on, you got to try this, when Rico's dad was on. Rico's dad and I and Annie have a friend in common named Tommy Ferrigno who had married a Jewish girl. Tommy's awesome. His wife is fantastic. His twins, all his kids are great. So the first year that he was married, he went to Rico's dad to take Rosh Hashanah off for the first time, even though Tommy grew up as an Italian guy, Catholic, whatever. So Rico's dad said, I'm sorry, Tommy, somebody else already has that one off, but Yom Kippur is still open. He was like, fuck that, because that's the one you fast on.
Oh,
Rosh
yeah.
Hashanah is more the one where you can kind of, whip it up and eat and stuff.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, so everybody have a very good Rosh Hashanah and also good Yom Tif if we don't speak to you before that happens.
I'm having a good experience with these Nutter Butters. I'm very excited.
Nutter Butters, yeah. Do not
idea.
Google Nutter Butter in social media. I think it means something totally different.
Ooh, yeah.
Well,
It's one of those ones that leads you like the blue
It's
waffle.
like a blue waffle situation.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. Do not.
Fascinating to look at.
Yeah, do not put Nutter Butter in the search bar in TikTok.
now you know I'm going to have to, right?
Yeah, you have to. So this is the
You know
twist.
what? I'll
Might
just
as well.
fire it up right
Yeah,
now.
please do.
Please
So it's not on
forgive
my
me for my
timeline.
sins.
Yeah. This is going to be the twisted history of 1950. The year 1950. We'll probably talk more about the 1950s just because anytime you do any kind of search about 1950 or any kind of round number year at the beginning of a decade, Google or whoever you go through tends to kind of, loop you in with that whole decade, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and so on. But we're going to try and concentrate on that one year, 1950. Not an extraordinary year when you look at some other years that I could have picked, but one that has a couple of topics within it that we very rarely talk about, either as a show or as a society, more specifically the Korean War, which started in 1950. So we're going to get into it.
The Korean War, the Forgotten War.
The Forgotten War.
right.
I didn't really talk
What's
about
the
it
best?
that much.
What's the best movie that is about the Korean War?
Man, I don't.
There are none.
Do you have an answer?
That's
Yeah.
my whole thing. Like, what's the best World War II movie? Like, people can say this. What's the best World War I movie? Vietnam movie. Some people's. What's your favorite Crusades movie? Like, there's something. If you ask people, anybody, what's their favorite war about the movie or TV show about the Korean War? I think the answer is probably MASH. Like, MASH was during the Korean War. MASH started as a movie, right? Ellie Gould and whatnot, I think. And then became like one of the longest running series in all of TV. But that was during the Korean War.
I thought that was Vietnam. I could have sworn.
No, I believe MASH, and someone can check me, MASH, I believe, was during the Korean War, which is fucking wild.
Just for the record, we did not kill Loretta Swit. She passed away weeks ago.
Loretta Swit?
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there because I don't want
Did we
someone
kill
to
somebody else? No, right? Did we mention somebody who tragically died?
I don't know. I'm not going to go there.
Somebody had hit me that I had mentioned somebody recently.
Robert Redford?
Did we mention Redford lately?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think so. Unless we did like all.
Butch
He's also-
Cassidy.
I think he's in that old enough category.
I
right,
agree
where
with
it's,
you.
know,
I do agree.
That would have
with
been tragic.
Yeah.
Redford, I thought, was dead for a while.
Did
You
you?
are correct about MASH.
Mash about Korea, right?
It's about
Correct.
Korea, but it like took place, I think, during or came out during the Vietnam War. It's like a commentary on the Vietnam War, but it was,
I think, yeah, it was a
but it
broad-
was set in Korea.
Yeah, it was
Correct.
a broader thing, but yeah, the MASH unit that they concentrate on with Alan Alda.
He's the 89, by the way. If he happens to pass
Alan Alda?
peacefully, we didn't do anything. It was not our fault.
Alan Alda, I'm taking the Metro North up to
Oh, right.
whatever, and I'm in the Acela. I'm taking the Acela to Boston. Excuse me. I'm in the first class car, and the guy comes by, gives me the ashtray filled with warm nuts, comes by, offers me a red wine. I slip him a 20. He leaves the bottle. That's how long ago this was. Left the bottle. I'm sitting there in first class, drinking a bottle of red wine, eating whatever before my meal comes in. I'm sitting across from Alan Alda, and I'm telling you, he absolutely big-timed me. Hello, Mr. Alda, big fan of your work or something like. He was
You
like,
were so put off by
I
this.
was so like I turned to him. I was like, just so you know, last generation that knows who the fuck you are. I think that's what I said to him
Yeah.
before I
Sounds like
walked
that's
away.
exactly
so I said
what you
to Alan
said to
Alda.
him.
You're a ghost, basically.
Yeah.
You're
that-
dead.
by the way, how tough did I just sound?
That's the second celebrity I know you've told off, right?
Yeah,
Didn't you?
was it
From
David
Friends?
Schwimmer.
From
David
yeah,
Schwimmer.
Schwimmer.
Yeah, I was in Nobu.
Yeah.
And
so you make a habit of this.
David Schwimmer comes
He really
by.
does, right?
And he said something. Oh,
No
yeah, he
pictures.
comes
You were
by.
taking
Yeah,
us-
he
you were
had like
taking
an army hat on. We did this for extra large when I first started here.
That's why I remember it.
Yeah. And he comes by. He's with an absolutely stunning Asian woman, belly shirt, and, big, pendulous milkers. So he comes by. I'm taking a picture of my food. Because even back then I was an asshole.
Yeah.
Send Andy, look, the miso cod or something. As I do, the flash goes off, turns on, no pictures. David Schwimmer. And I said, pump the brakes, Chandler. It's been a decade. That's what I said to him. I called him Chandler.
Yeah.
Fuck him. So David Schwimmer, Alan Alda, you put
He's
them in a
off
ring
the
with me.
list.
I take them both
We
out
don't
like
want
a
any harm
box of
coming
light
to
bulbs.
David Schwimmer.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
mentioning
I
you
don't,
pass.
yeah, please, I don't want anything to happen to either Alan Alda or David Schwimmer, but it did happen. So 1950, the year began on a Sunday, which I think is kind of cool. It was the 950th year of the second millennium,
It's a great
obviously.
day to start a journey.
Yeah, the 50th year of the 20th century and the first year of the 1950s decade. What was it like being an American in the 1950s? Or specifically in 1950? How would you think you would have done in 1950? Annie, I'll ask you first.
I think
How
I would
you
have done very well because I'm not a huge music person the way you are.
Right.
But I love 40s music. So really like the 50s music doesn't really catch on until it's like later.
Right.
You know, like it always takes a while to catch up.
Uh-huh.
So I think I would have done very well with 40s music.
But what about
so I think
the
I would
whole-
have been happy. I think it would have been good. It was like, baby booming going on and from
Yeah.
World War II. And I think that was a very good time to be patriotic and a part of America. I think it was on the upswing.
As a woman, though, it was almost a trad wife thing. Like we talk about today, that women make 70 cents on the dollar or whatever
Right.
the hell it is. Honestly, I don't know if it's true anymore, and I'm not going to look it up. So, but back then it was definitive. Roles were
you know
definitive.
What? I'm old school though. Like,
Okay.
even though to some degree I'm a feminist like myself, like from my own mental thinking, I do
Okay.
believe in tradition. So I think I would have been
Because you're not a trad wife now.
no.
And we've marred that definition, you and I, to fit with what we have going on, and it seems to be working. Actually, I want to talk to you about that. I'd like a divorce, but no, it just seems like one of those things where,
Everything's
like,
in my name. You can have it.
yeah, exactly. Bibsy, you would have ruled. You would have
I
fucking
would have
ruled.
crushed it. I would have had the
Right?
duck butt haircut,
Oh,
little leather
yeah.
jacket. I would have been the Fonz. I would have been the Fonz.
Would you have had a motorcycle?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I can't steer it very well.
I try to
It's a little
think.
heavy on my legs.
When he went back to the future, did he go back?
1955.
He went back to 55.
55.
Okay, so
November
it was in and around
15th,
that
maybe?
time. Because I could
I
see
gotta
both
look.
you or John kind of,
Marty McFly.
Walking around.
No.
Oh, trying to have sex with my mom.
I guess that wasn't the
Right?
best
Wasn't there
example.
a lot of?
Yeah, West Side Story, the Greasers and the Socias
No,
and
they just did like
Outsiders.
they
There was a lot of
gangs,
snapping.
A lot of snapping. Well, like in the 50s, do up.
Huh?
I watched West Side Story on acid one time, and it scared the hell out of me.
Really?
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
released Sound of Music in the movie theaters. I was tempted just to go to see it just because I hadn't seen it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Over 3 hours.
I didn't.
Yeah,
no,
I can't do that.
Uh-uh.
We did Jaws again in the IMAX. Highly
That I would love
recommend
to
it.
do. That's great.
Yeah, except the sound, because you can put a 1975 movie on the big screen, and just being on the big IMAX screen, it's very cool to see. They don't have to do much to it
We saw
to
that
make it pretty
Godfather,
impressive.
right? Didn't we?
But the sound they can't do anything with. So instead, IMAX just blasts it. So that scene where Quint scratches the chalkboard, man, that goes right through in a bad way. Like I was like, this is too much.
He
Turn
drew a
it down.
picture of the shark eating the little of Alex Kettner.
Yeah.
I didn't know it's known for that. So IMAX is known to, they say crush audio is just like what I've heard somebody say. But I saw Dunkirk.
Right.
And I didn't like it. And somebody said that later. It's like the whole audio is ruined.
Yeah.
If you watch
I'd
it.
much rather,
Yeah.
if you give me 10 times out of 10, I'd rather be in the Dolby theater.
Yeah.
The
You
bigger,
like the reclining seats. That's why.
yeah. I mean, that's nice too. But I love I'd rather better sound than better picture. I think at this
I
point,
could see that.
because I don't want grainy pictures or scrambled porn. Believe me, I've seen enough of that in my day. I almost went blind. So, but I need still a pretty good picture. I don't need the IMAX. I need good thing.
Can I give my hot take? I don't
Please.
like the reclining seats. I'd rather have the auditorium seating. Those
Really?
yeah, those cloth almost little padding.
Really?
Yeah, I'm old school. That 1950, bring back those seats.
Right. Yeah.
But what about drive-ins?
I would like a drive-in because then you don't have to listen to other people talk. It's all what's going on in
That's
your
a
car.
good point.
I think
Especially
drive-ins
with
now
stereo
also
systems now?
can't you do it through your stereo system?
Bluetooth it.
Probably.
Like,
I think you can
Probably.
Bluetooth it
that'd
right
be
through
sick.
the whole thing.
That'd be cool.
Right, especially when you drive a fine automobile.
Oh,
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
you do very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, now would make more sense for drive-in movie theaters considering the types of cars that we have, right?
For
Right.
sure.
I guess, but still, I mean, people probably would get that same experience on their home theater, and people don't like to go outside.
Although
but
you
are
would
you
hate
outside?
having to sit next to me because I'm such a slob.
That's
I'm
right.
so bad with crumbs, and you
Yeah.
spill stuff constantly, but I'm the worst with crumbs.
Right. Okay.
So maybe the car would be a good way.
But for people at home who are watching, the cost of living was significantly lower, obviously, and people like to put up these charts all the time. But a new car was averaging around $1,500 in 1950. A house cost about $15,000, and everyday items like a gallon of gas was 27 cents a gallon. A loaf of bread was 14 cents, and movie tickets went anywhere from 50 to 75 cents per ticket. It was a very early stage of TV, so shows like You Bet Your Life or The Lone Ranger were popular, and Disney's Cinderella was the hot movie at the box office. I got to be honest, I consider myself the oldest guy in Barstool. When I looked at the Billboard Top 100 and the box offices for 1950, I knew next to nothing. And there's nothing there that turned me, like Cinderella, obviously I know. There's nothing on there.
I'm just going to
That,
try something off the...
Heads up. There goes my phone.
were you going to try and give me one?
I'm just going to try and guess off the top of my head. What
John,
is it?
I'm telling you, I don't know. Like, I will, go ahead.
Wait. Not like Night of the Living Dead, but because that's way later. But
Twilight Zone?
no, it's like something like the Attack of the Body Snatchers.
Oh,
Invasion of the Body Snatchers wasn't
Yeah,
yet.
okay.
No, yeah.
That's like 54, the original.
Yeah, something like that. And I will tell you, like, picking 1950, I did it purposely because so much happened after 54 that changed the way this country was. That I
You know
think-
why that is, though, right? Because
that?
in 1950, that's when the transistor radio came in.
Yeah.
That's when technology really took off.
Yeah. But and also, from a civil rights perspective, from a global global economic perspective,
Right.
so much stuff changed as you got into the mid 50s. The
That's because we
1950
can get in touch with each other. Now
Yeah.
there was a way to communicate, and that just goes to show you the effect of social media.
Yeah. There was no rock and roll yet. Like Elvis was 15 in 1950. So if you look at the Billboard charts, honestly, Nat King Cole, Bing Crosby, but not a lot of other people jump out at you as being like, oh, that's an iconic musician, or that's a movie that I wish I was going to go see.
Plus
That's
the
why I
boom
mentioned
of
Cinderella.
think about the baby boomers are now by 1955 they're 10,
Yeah.
maybe a little younger, some of them. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they were on the scene. They were the fresh faces doing things in school and really.
Right.
Kids have a way of moving things.
Even if you watch Leave It to Beaver, and you think Leave It to Beaver didn't start till I think 55. So
Probably.
Leave It to
Halfway
Beaver
through the
was more of a
decade, yeah.
reflection of what life was like in 1950 than what life was actually like in 1955. So
Very
just trying to give people an idea of the time that we're talking about. Your house may contain the recently invented automatic washing machine. Your pantry or fridge may have had brand new products like Minute Rice or this new processed sliced cheese from Kraft. That's when it came out in 1950,
Hell
that
yeah.
fucking piece of shit cheese.
Minute rice is the best.
Oh yeah,
Good stuff though.
Yeah, I made rice the other day, and I don't know. I'm a big time cook. I very rarely make rice, and 45 minutes to cook. It has a little bit of nuance to it to make rice the correct way. When we did rice the other,
Tastes so much better, but it's
just
not that
takes
the other
forever.
one's bad.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah. And if you make 3 cups of rice, it lasts you for 17 weeks.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I'm doing it is Harry Truman was president in 1950. We almost never talk about him, Harry Truman. That was his second term at 1950. I think he went till 53. But Truman is consistently ranked among the great presidents. He's often anywhere from number 6 to number 10, which is, pretty good. So Harry Truman was a pretty well-respected president. Obviously, he had 2 terms, as I had mentioned before. He was considered a regular guy when he had taken the office. So if you're a student, you should know about the Marshall Plan, which involved the rebuilding of Europe after World War II. You probably should know about the Truman Doctrine, which kind of gave the United States that carte blanche to stop communism wherever it popped up around the world. But if you're a fan of Twisted History, here's some stuff that I think you need to know. Harry S. Truman is the only president of the 20th century who did not attend college. He tried to get into West Point, but was rejected for bad eyesight. Every time you see Truman, he's got like the round glasses
Big
on.
old bifocals.
Yeah. The S in Harry S. Truman, and we have mentioned this before, stands for nothing.
same with Grant.
Yeah. So Ulysses S. Grant, the S means nothing. So that the S was like an
I don't think
homage
so.
to his grandfathers.
Probably should double check
His
that,
one
but I'm pretty
grandfather,
sure.
I think, was his first name was maybe Solomon, and his other grandfather, I think maybe his last name started with an S. So it was Harry S. Truman. So you don't have to put a period in it when you're like typing it out and stuff. He signed his name with a period after the S, but I believe on his like gravestone, it doesn't have a period because grammatically you don't need a period because it's not short for anything. His middle name is just the letter S.
The mascot at Mizzou, named after Harry Truman.
Really?
Yes. I don't know if did he go to Missouri? Do we know that?
He's a huge Missouri. He didn't go to
He's
Missouri.
from Missouri.
He didn't go to college,
Right.
But he loved Ulysses stands for
means
nothing.
nothing.
Okay, cool. And but yeah,
Nope.
huge Missouri guy.
No period on his gravestone. Yeah, Truman the Tiger.
Really?
Is Mizzou's mascot, named
Yeah.
after Harry Truman.
Loved Missouri. He was the only president to serve in combat during World War I, and he didn't serve in combat like most presidents did. He was on the front lines. He was an artilleryman, so he was the real deal. He was a staunch Democrat. He refused to ride the Dumbo ride at Disneyland because he didn't want to be associated with the symbol of the Republican Party. So he wouldn't even sit inside a fake elephant.
I respect that.
Yeah. By the way, we're going to talk about elephants in a little while,
True
too.
to his
This is
convictions.
an elephant-friendly podcast. He was listed at 5'9", but people say he was much shorter. I don't know what much shorter would be, but if he was 5'7", he's still nowhere near being the shortest of the presidents. The shortest president that we've ever had was James Madison. Our 4th president was 5'4". It was James Madison, I believe, was the author of the Constitution, right? Founding father, 4th president. Right? No, James Madison wrote.
Jefferson wrote it.
Jefferson wrote. Didn't James Madison
He was the first signer. I
proofread
thought.
it?
He was the. Was
He's
he
a
the
founding
first-
father.
I think he was the first signer of it.
Wait, what did you say? Which document?
James Madison, the Constitution, not the Declaration.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was.
right,
thinking,
Am I in my
right.
fucking
I was
mind?
thinking Declaration.
Yeah. But he was 5'4". James Madison was a short king. And Harry
Jefferson
Truman.
wrote like the most though. I thought he.
James
wrote,
Madison did.
Okay.
Father of the Constitution.
Boom.
But he, I believe.
You had
he,
me doubting myself, by
he
the
was
way. there. I
supposed to
thought it
write
was dead wrong.
I was clarifying for
Yeah,
the
it's like
Never
the Federalist.
finished.
I was thinking Federalist Papers. or
Never
something.
doubt yourself.
Yeah,
but I
so-
believe James Madison was supposed to write the Declaration of Independence, but he was like, everyone kind of hates me. I'm just kind of a piece of shit.
Oh, really?
You go for it, Thomas
Yeah.
Jefferson. You're much more of a people person.
Plus, he was 5'4".
Because he's 5'4". Yeah, he's like,
he's
everyone, I'm
kinda
just kind of
little
a
guy. Yeah.
little gremlin.
So
go ahead.
Grant
Ulysses S. Grant.
has a period after S. Truman does not.
Okay. But Truman used to sign documents with a period after the S for some reason. Which is totally fine. It's up to him.
It
Plus,
loo- it
It
looks
meant
like-
something to him.
It looks like you're making a mistake if you don't put the period.
Correct.
there.
Yeah, it
It's like,
does,
oh, this guy,
right?
this guy, typo
Yeah.
idiot.
we talked about WAGs in the last episode. Wound up being a really good episode. I love
It
that
was
one.
an excellent
Yeah.
episode, I thought.
Truman's WAG was Best Truman. He was deeply in love with his wife. When he first got to Berlin for the Potsdam Conference, a low-ranking army officer met him in his car and asked if he'd want female accompaniment for the conference.
Yes, he would.
He was going grabbing whores for people and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's history, baby.
He's a pimp.
Truman said to him, "Son, I married my sweetheart. She doesn't run around on me, and I don't run around on her. And after the officer left, Truman asked to never see that officer again.
Wow.
I kind of respect. I think he met her his first day of like high school. Came home and told his mom, "I met the girl I'm going to marry," and that was it.
That was
That's
me with
sweet.
you.
I feel like he was afraid of Bess though. Bess sounds like someone who's kind
She
of.
seems like
she's the boss in that relationship.
Yeah. Bess had big shoes to fill because she came in after Eleanor Roosevelt, who's widely considered, the greatest first lady who's ever lived. We talked
Tough
about
act
her.
to follow. Yeah.
She might
Yeah.
be the goat, but she's no goat throat.
No, big shoes to follow, literally, because that lesbian had like size 14s, I believe. Eleanor Roosevelt, she had flippers. But Bess was still considered a pretty good first lady, but she deliberately avoided the spotlight. So you're not going to see her ranked up there with like the Jackie O's or the Eleanor Roosevelts. She was his speechwriter, which I think is kind of cool. Like Truman is one of her speechwriters. And then if you look at who ultimately won out, it's probably Bess Truman because she was the longest lived first lady in U.S. history. She lived till she was 97 years old. Wow. So who wins? I guess Bess wins. While they were in office, Bess and Harry, they had major renovations done to the White House. The White House was actually falling apart by the time they got there. Truman hated living in the White House. So he's like, let's fix this fucking thing up. And in the interim, we'll move to the Blair House, which wasn't too far away. Mm-hmm. And the Blair House is sort of the visitors' place for the U.S. president. If you come to visit the U.S. president, you get put up in the Blair House. Some people call the Blair House the world's most exclusive hotel. Ooh. So that's where they lived for part of his term. And in 1950, Harry Truman had two Puerto Rican pro-independence activists sneak into the Blair House. And there was a shootout. But Truman was upstairs at the time. He later said he wasn't worried because he had previously been shot at by experts, meaning the German army. He's like, I was on the fucking front lines, so I was okay. But one of the assailants named Grisello Torresolo and Secret Service agent Leslie Kofelt killed each other. The other, Oscar Colazzo, was wounded along with three other Secret Service agents. So he's upstairs in the Blair House, and there's a legitimate firefight going on. So much so, the agent that was killed, Leslie Kofelt, it was a guy, as he was shot, he was like going down and he shot the assailant from like 30 yards away. People are saying if it was a rifle, it was an easy shot, but this guy was like an expert marksman. Like he killed the guy from like 30.
Like the Untouchables?
It was supposed to be, You got him? I got him. Yeah. I don't know. I think that
pretty
gets
ballsy for a feminine junior.
Yeah, exactly. But so Leslie Kofelt, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It might be Kofelt. I'm not sure. That was the only gunfight the Secret Service was ever in defense of a president. It was the only gunfight ever. And Kofelt is one of only two Secret Service members killed while protecting the president. I thought that number would be much higher, but it was him, which happened in a bullshit raid by two Puerto Ricans at the Blair House. And the other was William Craig. This dude, if you Google William Craig, he was a stud. Came over from England, used to wear like those cool bowler hats. He was in the Secret Service for Teddy Roosevelt. So at one point, Teddy Roosevelt...
He was a stud.
...was in a carriage, and somebody tried to ram into his carriage with a trolley. And I think like this guy, William Craig, like pushed him out of the way, and he got wiped out in the carriage by the trolley. So he got killed. So Kofelt was the only person that was ever shot to death in defense of the president. And if somebody has different information on that, please correct me. And William Craig died getting hit by a trolley that was aiming at Teddy Roosevelt. Kind of cool, wow. Right? Yeah. The last thing before we move on from Harry, just to tie in the two facts that I stated above, he loved his wife and he lived in the Blair House. At one point, they had to replace the bed in the Blair House because Harry Truman and Bess broke the bed with just straight up hardcore sex.
That'll happen.
Good for them.
Listen, allegedly. I mean, they could have broke the bed because they were playing fucking Twister.
No, those Midwestern boys, they know how to lay it down.
Look at the picture of Bess.
Remember a couple that did that? They ended up having an issue with their cat that was underneath it.
Yeah. Look at the picture of Bess, though.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. Kind of looks like Tommy Sabelli a little bit.
A little bit. She kind of
Yeah.
looks like my grandma.
Yeah, but
But
that's
she had a fastball, apparently.
yeah. Truman landing some back shots. If you look at Truman's presidency, there's a lot of good things to point to.
Look how happy he is.
Yeah, the biggest thing that you can criticize, or I think history now criticizes, was his dropping of the bomb, and people are on either side of the fence with that. So you can argue that all you want, but it was a way that perhaps he saved more lives by doing it, but he did drop, on two.
Just
two
a
cities.
minor foot.
Yeah.
foot-
So if you want to point out something that people tend to nitpick, it's when he dropped 2 A-bombs on Japan.
Best president ever, but the A-bomb.
Top 6.
Except for that old
yeah.
chestnut.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like 2 months into office? It was very early.
Very, very
Like,
early.
all right, hey,
He
buddy.
took
Yeah,
over
we've
the
been-
reins from it. But
Right,
listen, he dropped it. And we're going to talk about Korea when he was also had his hand on the button, right?
Right.
And there's history of him dropping atomic bombs on places, but when he did it in Japan, he did it at the end of a world war where their biggest ally was laying dead in a bunker.
Wasn't Eisenhower very influential, I imagine, too, in that
There was a
regard?
bunch
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
hands in that pot, but obviously, ultimately, it resides in the hands of the president.
You think there would have been little bit?
It was effective.
Think it would have been a little bit different or a little bit more reserve, we'll say, in his decision making had he gone to West Point?
I don't know. Like, he did serve, right? He served in
He
World
served,
War One,
but it's very
which I
different
would,
than coming out of West Point, right? Like
He-
they teach you
yeah,
patience and.
even though he didn't go to college, he did do some, like, he went to law school for a little bit. He wasn't an uneducated man by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying going to
Right.
a school like West Point,
Yeah.
where it teaches you war tactics.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
just
I mean,
wondering.
perhaps we'll never know. But it's one of those things too, where he didn't just drop it flippantly, like just drop a nuke on those guys.
Right.
As you can tell by the way he handled himself during the Korean War, particularly with MacArthur. Like MacArthur, I think would have been for bombing everything, and he essentially fired General MacArthur. So it's he was. My point is that Harry Truman. We don't speak about him a lot on this podcast just because our paths don't cross in this time frame. But he was a pretty good president. He was a pretty good president. I hate some of them. He wasn't one. But back to the U.S. in 1950. The country was doing fine, except if you were a minority. So let me get that out of the way right now. In 1950, being black in America sucked. You were living underneath pervasive Jim Crow segregation. You were facing systemic discrimination in housing, employment, education, and you were experiencing daily indignities and violence, including lynching. The modern civil rights movement didn't begin until 1954, so we're very close to it. So everything that you read about being terrible here in the U.S. for black people, particularly in the South, it was still true in 1950. It wasn't the low point of racism in America, like the slave trade, or maybe in 1921 where we did like the Black Wall Street, Tulsa Massacre and all that stuff.
The resurgence of the Klan.
Yeah,
Right.
in 1950, it wasn't ideal to be a black person. So I'm not going to glance over that because we've done so much about the civil rights movement. And, the death of Emmett Till, I think, probably was in like 1954 because that, was one of the things that sparked the civil rights movement. So we're 5 years away from things starting to get better legislatively. But at the time, it was pretty fucking bad. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Death of Emmett Till, August 28th, 1955.
Nailed it.
So right in
Boom.
the middle.
Now, yeah, I know that we're coasting around some very historic stuff going on in 1950. If I was to do the twisted history in 1955, it would be 7 parts. That would be Ken Burns. Ken Burns could do 7
yeah.
parts and
Yeah.
that type
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah, but
7 parts, 3 hours long
Hey,
apiece.
why'd you mention Ken Burns?
Ken Burns is still tentatively scheduled to be in here in November. Correct? I mean, unless something
November
goes wrong,
The
7th.
Michael Jordan, the Michael
Right?
Jordan of
A day which will live in
Docs.
infamy.
live in infamy. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So Ken Burns is going to come on. We're going to fuck around with him. I think we're going to have him on. It'll coincide with the twisted history of dildos.
Hey,
just to see what we can
yeah.
do with that.
Listeners, if we have any good questions, send them in.
Right?
yeah.
Now would be the
Send
time.
them in.
Absolutely.
Well done, Bibsy, by
That's
the way.
smart. That's
Yeah,
smart,
yeah.
John Kelly.
Yeah.
That's a great poll.
That's a
by
good
the way.
question, though.
Yeah.
It's like, what haven't you done yet? What's your next one, obviously,
Ooh, yeah.
towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The Korean War.
We got to make sure we give him a snake draft, too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We got to give him a snake
Maybe we
draft.
should nominate something like obscure that he should do a 3-part series on.
Yeah.
I would, Korean War. Why haven't you done? I guess is there
No,
a lot
I don't
of,
want that one though.
I'm-
Well, I want it.
I got to be honest. I'll spend 5 minutes on the Korean War today. That's it.
There's like nothing. There's nothing on it.
Yeah.
No matter where you look, like there's just.
It's not over, technically. Like, that's my whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, the Korean War didn't have beginning, middle, or end. What's the matter?
I'm living a John.
I want
I
like the
didn't-
French and Indian Wars.
Oh, you want to go back?
I don't know.
Franco
Brother, that's
Prussian?
what we're getting the Revolutionary War.
I
go
know.
1812.
Yeah,
I
he
feel like
might
it's-
even touch on it. You're right.
I feel like because he always starts a little earlier in the thing. I mean,
Why
we got
don't
the
we let
screener.
him-
We got to watch it.
Yeah.
What a left turn.
I guess we can have him pick too, Annie says.
Who?
Annie?
We
Ken
should,
Burns?
we should let him pick like what subject, as long as it's not Korea, because we don't want to upset John.
But he'll be promoting something, so I'm assuming we'll talk
Yeah,
about whatever
yeah.
project
But I don't
he's
think
doing.
he would be ready to promote what's next. So
No.
The
maybe
American
not.
he might
Revolution.
have an idea.
is what
We'll
he's
pry it
promoting.
out of his head.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. We'll
right.
get something out of him,
So that's
something
that.
inside.
I'm very excited about this, by the way.
It should be fun.
I think it's nice that we all are too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, revisiting my original point and acknowledging how bad it was to be a minority in the United States in 1950, the country was actually doing quite well. I'll get into that in 1 second, but first, let's talk about fastgrowingtrees.com. Fall is planting season. Did you know that many plants and trees actually do better when planted this time of year? But if you have to know where to start, that's where I love fastgrowingtrees.com. Doesn't matter if you live in the sunny South or if the air is getting chilly where you are, the plant experts can help you find the perfect fit for your space. They have all the plants your yard needs, like fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and so much more. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online and get your plants excited. Get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving your home. Annie has a part of our garden which she calls Finnegan's Island.
I do.
So we needed to fill that up with plants. We had no idea of what would fit there, what would do well there, what time of year we should plant them. We went to this fastgrowingtrees.com and they hooked us up, and we're very, very happy with their products and highly recommend them. So this fall, they had the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code TwistedHistory at checkout. That's 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code TwistedHistory, no space, at checkout. Now's the perfect time to plant. Use Twisted History to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. And John, you'll put a link below or something like that for people to know. So honestly, we're absolute morons. And every time we've ever gone to a nursery, we've picked up stuff that hasn't lived, getting it there in your car and the whole deal. They take all the thought work out of it. They take
Yep.
all the grunt work out of it. They do everything but dig up your yard and put it in the ground. So give these guys a chance if you're going to be buying plants in and around this time or any time.
A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they'll never sit in.
Boom.
I don't think that's about actually growing trees, but it should be for that.
Should be. I love that. It's one of my
Plant some
favorite
trees.
quotes.
That was so profound.
John,
The
what are you
kids.
going to say about it? Are you a plant guy?
I just didn't know that fall was like a good time.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Just for
people-
some breeds.
breeds.
That's
People have been
so. That's
saying
why I should. So that's why you have to ask these guys what to do, because I just called a plant a breed.
Yeah,
Right?
it's nice. It's nice to see you out of your element, because normally it's about cooking delicious
yeah,
food, and you're
yes,
like, oh, I don't
yeah,
even
yeah.
use the instructions.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Rods.
This non-stick pan, like I
Yeah.
could do all that shit. But as far as, an arborvitae, I have no fucking clue. So
doing
these
great.
guys take it all out of it.
You're doing great.
Right. So back to how the U.S. was in 1950. It was good. Think about it. Only 5 years prior, on the morning of September 2nd, 1945, Japanese representatives signed the surrender document during a ceremony on the deck of the battleship USS Missouri, marking the official end of World War II. So we just won another world war. It's 5 years after that.
Do we know if Truman had anything to do with that, it being on the USS Missouri?
I don't know.
'Cause
That's a good
he's a
question.
Missouri guy.
He's a huge Missouri guy. What do you call people from Missouri?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know either.
I was gonna say
remember I called it Mizzou once on a podcast, and people came after me. They're like, "It's not Mizzou unless it's the team or something like
unless
that."
it's the tiger, because
They
I'm gonna find out.
There's something specific about it, so I try to go right down the middle with people from Missouri. 'cause it can be
Missourians.
nasty.
Yeah, I don't know.
Missourians? I don't know. I don't even know what the big dish is there.
We'll have to ask Wesley.
Well, no, St. Louis,
this will
it
tell you
has to
exactly
be-
what it is, but he'll tell you it.
So it's got to be like some of the stuff.
Missouri.
From,
It's truly like a combination of the South and the West. Missouri is really like an interesting place.
yeah, Missourians.
We were just there for Internet Invitational, Big Cedar.
That
Would it
course
be
is
Missourians or
gorgeous.
Missourian?
Yeah.
I was there for. Why was I there? Oh, I was there with the guys from Dive Bomb,
Where were
the
you?
Oh,
hunting
right,
company.
right.
Because that's where I think I went hunting. I believe I went
Where?
hunting in Missouri.
Where were you?
I forget.
Duck hunting.
But the guys, when I landed,
Springfield?
No, I landed in St. Louis.
Okay.
Those guys like picked me up, took me to that Italian section. There's a cool Little Italy called The Hill in Missouri where all the crosswalks, instead of just white lines, it's red, white, and green lines like the Italian flag. Real like proud Little Italy there called The Hill. They do baked raviolis, the breaded and baked raviolis.
Yeah.
I had a hot salami sandwich from this place called Joya's. They take a whole loaf of salami or log or stick. They put it almost like a crock pot. So it's like a salami pot roast. Yeah.
Well, this just seems
Shit,
like
I know a little bit about it.
a
More.
deeper extension of Kansas City.
Yeah.
And all their food.
Little BBQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kansas City barbecue.
So the last time you were in St. Louis,
Yeah.
I guess I asked you what. I guess we were talking. I don't know. It's like at night, and you said you texted me. I think I'm going to order some St. Louis barbecue to the room, and it is like 1 a.m.
Oh, yeah. I love St. Louis barbecue. Yeah, that's what it is.
So there's
Yeah. But so
that's our pillow talk. I'm ordering some barbecue.
my point is we're still on a high from winning World War II, which, is enough to have the country doing pretty well. But on top of it all, by 1950, the U.S. was in a post-war economic boom, leading to increased prosperity, a rise in suburban living because developers were now building new neighborhoods on the outskirts of cities. We spent so much time leading up to the mid-1900s developing our cities that then we were, there was always settlements outside. But now we're pushing those settlements a little bit further out and creating smaller suburban cities, towns like the ones that we live in now.
Yeah.
And it was all able to be done because we were expanding highway networks. So we were able to get to places easier. And there was also an emergence of a strong consumer culture symbolized by the growing influence of television. This era also saw a post-war baby boom with more married couples and young children than ever before. Societal emphasis was on traditional family roles, when men working and women often focusing on home and childcare. It was called the Golden Age. The economy was strong in the 1950s, high growth, low unemployment, it was always below 5%, low inflation, less than 2%, and increased purchasing power for American families. It led to a booming consumer culture and the expansion of the middle class. This prosperity was driven by factors including a strong industrial base untouched by World War II, government initiatives like the GI Bill and the Interstate Highway Act, a growing population, and the shift from wartime to consumer goods manufacturing. The war never reached our shores. World War II was a big one, but it never really affected us geographically. We fought it all over there. So while the rest of the world was rebuilding, the U.S. possessed an unscathed and expanded industrial base emerging from World War II as the world's primary supplier of manufactured goods. We built all these plants and we were building planes and jets and bullets and fucking helmets and all that stuff. And then when the war was over, we turned that into building cars and consumer goods. So while everybody else in Europe was rebuilding, we were sending our goods over there. It was just a perfect time for us. The 1950s was extremely comfortable, unless, of course, you're black.
Right.
Like that whole thing. But economically, it was the shit. So it was very, very positive. What were the negatives? It was the start of the anxieties of the Cold War, the resulting Red Scare. I'm probably not going to touch on the McCarthyism and Red Scare because we talked about it ad nauseum on this. We actually spoke about the Lavender Scare also for gay people and all that shit. I had mentioned there was a ton of racial segregation in the 50s. And, we had a war in Korea, and we're going to get to that. Mm-hmm. But much like Billy Joel with We Didn't Start the Fire, which you just recently heard in a bagel store.
Preach, brother. Yep.
Yeah.
And it sounded better than ever.
Yeah, we're going to go month to month in 1950s, right up until the summer when everything hit the fan with the Korean War. So just so you know what it was like in 1950, like in January. We'll start with January. And in January of 1950, probably the biggest thing that happened there was the Great Brinks robbery. When you think of Brinks, it's sort of synonymous with...
I'm thinking of Heat right now. I'm
You
thinking
thinking of Heat?
I'm thinking of De Niro breaking open that truck for that
Absolutely.
piece of paper, whatever that was.
When I read about the Brinks robbery of 1950, you would think I would think about Heat as well. But when I saw that it was done where it was in Massachusetts,
Val Kilmer.
it did resemble The Town. Remember that one?
Oh, I remember the town.
With Affleck and
Yeah.
fucking
My
Hawkeye?
buddy George.
Yeah.
Slain.
Yeah,
He's in
yeah, that's right. Those guys.
when they're in the car and they got the masks on and the cop sees them and he just looks the other way.
Yeah.
That's Southie, baby.
That's it. So the Brinks job reminded me of that. And as I give you some of the details, I think there are some parallels. Not that the town was based on the Brinks job, like somebody in the 1950s says, I don't want you to ask any questions, but we're going to go and hurt some people. Who's driving? Like, that was a great fucking line. Right?
yeah.
It gives you a little bit of blood flow. Town was a great movie. On January 17th, 1950, after 2 years of methodical planning, a squad of armed robbers bound and gagged 5 Brinks employees in their HQ in the north end of Boston and left the building with more than $2.7 million, which is the equivalent of $40 million today. It's a big heist.
Can I tell you something about?
Go ahead.
By the way, you brought up the movie Heat.
Yes.
Do you know they used that shootout scene because it was so realistic to train the Marines?
I did not.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
Thank you, Michael Mann.
Right.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. So these guys got away with 2.7 million, and that 2.7 was 1.2 in cash and 1.5 in checks, money orders, and other securities. So that's a haul. It was the largest and most elaborate crime of its kind and was branded as the crime of the century. There were 11 involved, but 7 of the group went into the Brinks building that night. 5 other, so 4. 11 minus 7 is 4. 4 others were playing lookout and all that kind of shit. 7 of them entered the building that night. They each wore a hat, a pea coat, and a rubber Halloween mask. Sort of like the town.
The town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And each of them had a .38 caliber revolver. At 7:10 p.m. on January 17th, 1950, they entered the building and tied up the 5 employees working in the vault area. They spent about 20 minutes inside the vault, putting money into large canvas bags. The robbers left behind approximately $1 million in silver and coins because they simply couldn't carry it.
Too heavy, yeah.
It's just too fucking heavy to carry it.
Did one of my grocery carts, like
Yeah.
when we lived in Brooklyn.
Or the Italian Job. Remember where they had to, do you remember the remake of the Italian
Little
Job?
Mini Coopers?
Mini Coopers that had to like redo their suspension so they could take all the gold bars.
Mm-hmm.
Big movie podcast. This
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Brinks Incorporated offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those involved, with an additional 5% of any recovered cash offered by the insurance company. It's good money.
5%. Come on.
But
Go
yeah,
10.
still
Let's
back
go
then.
10.
Yeah, let's do it 10. On top of the $100,000, you'd get 5% of whatever dough they recovered.
On top of the 100
Yeah.
grand. All right, that's fair. That's fair.
The director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation at the time, a guy named J. Edgar Hoover, took over supervision of the investigation, and it quickly captivated the country. This was on everybody's tongues in January of 1950. The bandits evaded capture for years. Eventually, a hitman shot at Joseph Specs O'Keefe, one of the men involved in the robbery. While in the hospital, O'Keefe made a deal with the FBI and testified against his cohorts. He dropped a dime.
Ugh.
The way that I read this, and again, correct me if you guys want to, these guys got away with it. Sort of like in, not Goodfellas. What was the one where De Niro got mad at the guy for buying the car?
Oh, you
Donnie,
bought
Donnie Bosco.
Casino?
No,
I think it
Morty's
wasn't
wigs
it
never
wasn't-
fall
it was
off.
I thought that was
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's Goodfellas.
Didn't even have like a fur jacket?
That's right. Return the jacket. He
Yeah.
said to like 2 times or whatever.
They had like the lavender caddy.
Same thing. These guys got away with it, but there were other people who knew
Almost.
about what happened. So I believe this guy O'Keefe got shot by a hitman looking to get his like a part of what they had stole. So he was like, I'm gonna fucking die from these mobsters in the north end of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So he drops a dime on the rest of the guys who are involved in order to escape assassination by the mob and prosecution by the government.
Disgusting.
Disgusting fucking rat. Of the 11 people, the bandits evaded capture for years, and this deal that he struck with the FBI was just 5 days before the statute of limitations expired on the investigation. These guys were 5 days away from being scot-free with the equivalent of $40 million in today's economy. That's fucking crazy. Of the 11 people involved in the robbery, 8 would receive life sentences after a trial. So that was 8 of them. O'Keefe cut a deal. That was 9. And 2 others died before they could be convicted. So that accounts for all 11. 8 of them would receive life sentences. O'Keefe gone, 2 others dead. Out of the $2.7 million stolen, only 58 grand was recovered.
You think they spent it, or do you think they had it buried somewhere?
don't
and
think,
it's like,
like,
I'm never telling you where it's at. Or they gave it to their family.
11 of us spending $2.7 million today, easy as shit. I could spend that in a day. We could all, do stuff. Back then, 11 people spending the equivalent of $40 million. So it would be like 11 of us spending $40 million. I don't think we could do that without everyone knowing that we'd stole $40 million.
Signs.
So to answer your question, I don't think the money was spent. But the money was never found, except for $58,000, which is almost embarrassing that's all they fought. Yeah.
Tucked away under a mattress for family members and stuff like that to use, right?
But all of the convicted were paroled and released by 1971. So if this robbery happened in 1950 and they stashed that money, let's say it took 10 years for them to get thrown into prison. So they're in prison by 1960. They're out 11 years later in 1971. I think that money would still be buried in the garden
like
that
the Randall's Island
Ben
guy.
Affleck had. What?
It's like the Randall's Island guy that you tell me I buried
exactly.
the vodka.
Before Lollapalooza, the guy went to Randall's Island a month before, buried the handle of vodka by a tree, took the treasure map out when he got to Lala, uncovered it, and then drank a handle of vodka for free. All he did was buy a couple of fruit punches.
By the way, like O'Keefe wasn't just shot like someone did just come up and shoot him. Like that guy, whatever his name, Fats Pino, whatever his name. He had the guy that shot at him with a machine gun and missed him.
It's 1950s, right? It's like fucking Tommy gun.
Say hello to my Tommy gun.
Yeah.
How do you miss somebody? Like you have to be a terrible shot. By the way, his job was a hitman.
Yeah.
Probably got fired after.
I feel like to be a hitman, you just have to have like the courage to do it. You don't have to be the best shot.
I said that 8 of them went to prison. All of them were paroled by 1971, except for Big Joe McGinnis, which is a very good nickname too, because he died in prison. So 7 of them were free by 1971 and probably had shovels in their hand the next day trying to pick up some of that stolen money. Before we go on, Andy and I were chatting about the biggest robberies we could think about. And I go back to 2003. I like this robbery. I mean, there's so many. But this was the largest bank robbery of all time, physical bank robbery of all time. And it was the day before the United States entered Baghdad as part of the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Saddam Hussein essentially sent his son Qusay into the Central Bank of Iraq with a handwritten note from his dad ordering the bank to withdraw nearly $1 billion in money that wasn't his. That's a holdup.
Yeah.
Right?
Bank officials say that Qusay and another unidentified man oversaw the cash, which was a shit ton of boxes of $100 bills secured with stamped seals, being loaded onto 3 tractor trailers during a 5-hour operation. I mean, that's not subtle.
Not at all.
Yeah, and this is considered the largest bank heist in history. What happened to Qusay? He was killed.
Right next to Usay.
Yeah, right by the 101st Airborne Division. Fuck him.
We'll shove a boot in your ass. It's the American.
Like, didn't they weren't they the cover, like Usay and Qusay, weren't they the cover of the Daily News one? Like,
Might have been, yeah. But, I mean, he robbed the bank for $1 billion. Physically. You know what I mean? Like
that was
with a note.
The country's
With a
money.
note.
Yeah, the country's money. Yeah, so they established the Central Bank of Iraq.
Imagine
It was
doing
bullshit.
Like he was robbing the people.
Yeah.
Imagine the fear you have to do that. I got to imagine if,
Yeah.
Dad
I
is
can't send my
Saddam
kids to a
Hussein.
restaurant for extra ketchup.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Saddam Hussein sent this kid with a handwritten note. He stole $1 billion. What happened so Qusay dies. We know what happened to Saddam Hussein. What happened to all that money? About $650 million was recovered. It sounds like a lot, but over $250 million just vanished. $250 million with a B. $250 million, I think, was Dave's net worth, right? At one point, wasn't it like $250 million or something like that?
I don't know. I'm not pocket watching him.
Wasn't like it was something, right? So $350 million was never recovered. And as a follow-up, some American soldiers tasked with counting the $650 million that was recovered.
That's a job.
Stole
That's
hundreds of thousands.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
That's
there
when
was,
my shoe size goes from a 9 to a 27.
but then they got
You wouldn't-
caught. Like they stole
Shoving it in
while
there.
they were, which is always my thing. I not to go back to movies, but there's a new movie coming out with Ben Affleck and fucking Matt Damon, where they find like drug money. Like that's their whole deal,
Is
like
it
finding
hidden in
illegal money.
the orange garden that she was making? Remember?
No. It's like they go in like bad boys. They find it in the roof, and it winds up there's $300 million in the roof or something. So they're like, should we keep it? Should we not? For the record, if I was a cop, I would keep a lot of the money that I took. I just don't care. It's too much. So these soldiers did that. 35 service members were caught and sent to prison for their transgressions.
Every movie's told me you never steal drug money. Even if you're like, oh, no one will ever find this. Did you ever watch the movie Atlantic City with where he finds just a bag of cocaine and
who's in that?
It's 80-year-old. He's a. Let me Google
What is it
real
called?
quick.
Atlantic
City.
I don't remember.
Is it Burt Lancaster? Yes, Burt
Lancaster.
Lancaster. He's like 80 years old. He finds like a bag of cocaine.
I don't know it.
He's like, nothing could ever go wrong. And
Right.
someone comes looking for the bag of cocaine, and it costs
I
him
just
dearly.
don't see me taking $650 million in a room, and it's the four of us, and us not walking out with at least a couple of,
And it's like,
couple stacks.
It's like, well, this isn't my government's money. This isn't our,
Fuck it. I don't know anybody in Iraq.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a harmless crime.
Yeah. And I consider myself a good person.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind I would have been one of the 35. I would have been. And I don't know who's listening to this now, but if you're in your car right now and you say you weren't, I think I'd
yeah, I want to say I'd be like, I'm above it, but
Would you ever be sorry in this situation? I know it's a little different, but would you ever be embarrassed to think like, there's a video camera watching me and I can't see?
It's 2003 though.
I know, yeah.
And
no,
in
this was no, they weren't. I don't think they recovered it or were doing the counting and stuff till 2011. So it might have been more like what you're saying, John.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, when I first watched Band of Brothers, do I ever like read a history book? It's only movies today. Do you remember that part where the one guy was stealing silverware from the houses that they would stay in as they were going through, and then he would mail it back home? Like that one stud soldier would always like take silver and then mail it back to himself. He stole that from people's houses that didn't deserve to have their houses stolen.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, fuck it. This guy's a hero by all other accounts. Let him have the spoils of war to a degree, which doesn't involve raping and pillaging and all that kind of stuff. I guess it is kind of pillaging. But, like, it seems like it's a
definition
victimless...
of pillaging.
It is very much so the definition of pillaging. And I probably wouldn't steal people's silverware, but I would steal $1 million from Iraq for some reason.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you feel bad knowing that they turned a blind eye?
I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't think I've never been in this situation. I didn't prepare to maybe do a deep dive in this, but I think that in general, I would steal from criminals. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't steal from...
You do have a propensity to steal anyway.
Yeah, a little bit like candy every now and then.
Because I would have convinced myself
I'm
stealing from Saddam Hussein, not the Iraqi people. So I would have made it. Also, pillaging, stealing through violence. And you're not stealing through violence.
No violence.
You're just taking...
But if we're in the Eagle's Nest after World War II, I'm taking the fucking Mona Lisa if I can.
Got to do it.
Again, that's probably wrong too. But I am taking dough and gold. Unless the gold was from melted down Jewish teeth or something. Like, there's all these things that are mixed in. I'm going to have to think about this a little bit more.
Either way, it's off the backs of, it's blood money. So
yeah.
You have to
I'd steal the shit out of Blood Diamonds, though.
Oh, yeah.
Swallow those
Great
things,
movie.
shit them out once we get home. Right. Blood Diamond, very, very good movie. You're absolutely right. All right, let's get back to 1950. So that was January. Brinks' job in January 1950. February 1950 was important for two reasons. It began the use of something that has broken more wallets than any casino ever created, the first credit card. First credit card was used in February of 1950 after loan company executive Frank McNamara and lawyer Ralph Schneider persuaded 14 New York City restaurants to accept something they created called the Diners Club rather than cash. The 200 Diners Club members who had cards, the original cards were made out of cardboard, I believe, would be billed each month for a small vig by the club, which would pay the participating restaurants for the debt incurred. So Diners Club, sort of like credit cards do, we pay you, you pay us with a little bit of a vig. So journalist Matty Simmons accompanied McNamara and Schneider to what is called in the credit card history, the First Supper, not the Last Supper, at Major's Cabin Grill, which was right next to the Empire State Building, in a spot which is now home to the Dim Sum Palace, which isn't very good.
You get all this and dim sum.
And dim sum. At the end of the meal, McNamara handed the waiter a piece of cardboard, the Diners Club card, with the number 1,000 on it. He was the first member, so he was member number 1,000, and charged the meal. Schneider was card number 1001, and Matty Simmons, the journalist, was given a third card, which was 1002. So all your problems with credit card debt, how much credit card debt do you have right now, Vibsy? Is it overwhelming?
0, brother. I always pay off my card.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
That's fantastic.
I grew up in the Midwest. We were taught to think credit cards are evil.
Yeah, same thing
so
with
I
us.
just yeah.
John, how saddled are you with credit card debt?
No, I don't have any. I'm a big credit card guy, though.
Okay.
So I've run
you
it
are.
up to 10K before. But,
Right. You big points guy?
As long as you have gold behind the money.
Can I say this? I went into debt one time, credit card debt, because I was ordering milkshakes to my apartment pretty much every night. This is COVID just loosened up. I was going through a breakup, and I spent so much money on
milkshakes,
DoorDashing milkshakes to my apartment.
Really?
And I looked at my credit card statement. And I was like, I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
I'm in a bad spot.
Mom, Dad.
No. I would rather die before I had them bail me out.
You don't want to pay interest too. Interest is where.
I probably paid.
You want to cut that
$1,000 on milkshake interest.
When we had Barstool Finance, rest in peace, a lot of guys would come in that we'd interview from the from outside, from the office, and they'd be like, "Large, what should we invest in?" And I'd be like, "I'll give you a couple ideas, but how much credit card debt do you have?" They'd be like, "Oh, it's mine. I maybe owe like $12,000." I'd be like, "You cannot find an investment thing that's reliable that will be as profitable as what the banks are making off of you, and that's $12,000. So take every money that you wanted to buy a stock with and pay down that debt, and then come talk to me about buying stuff, especially at that age, to have these, because these kids are saddled with fucking credit card debt."
Right. Well, one day I'll sit down my kids and be like, "Well, you can't go to college because back in 2020 I bought so many milkshakes. You don't even. It'll make your head spin."
I used to just drink milkshakes and masturbate to Best Truman. So that's what happened in 1950 in February. First credit card was used. Second thing that happened that month on February 22nd, Dr. J was born in Long Island. It's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. March 1950, there's at least two things I want to point out. The first, on 3/14/50, on March 14th, 1950, the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitive list was introduced. That's when it came out, 1950, yeah. With bank robber and murderer Thomas James Houldin as the first person on the list. He and his gang, and Thomas J. Houldin, no one's heard of him, but he was like an old-timey bank robber. His gang were in and out of prison for various crime sprees. He once escaped Leavenworth with the help of a guy named Machine Gun Kelly, not the musician, obviously,
we had
but the real
beef.
Machine Gun Kelly. Yeah.
I was gonna. Who's the guy that hosts the FBI's Most Wanted show?
I love that guy.
Adam's father.
Robert Stack? No, he did Unsolved Mysteries.
John.
I don't know what America's Most Wanted.
America's Most Wanted. Sorry,
Yes.
but isn't that from the FBI's Most Wanted list?
Probably.
We've talked about him.
Yeah.
His son was Adam.
Yes.
John Walsh.
John Walsh. I
Yeah.
can't believe my mind went blank on that.
He was born December 26th, you're a Christmas baby. Never mind. 1945.
1945. So this guy, Thomas James Houldin was the first on the list. Broke at Leavenworth with Machine Gun Kelly, a bunch of crime sprees. But it wasn't until after he killed his wife and two of her brothers during a drunken family argument in Chicago in 1949 was he put on the inaugural FBI 10 Most Wanted list, and was described by a spokesman for the FBI as a menace to every man, woman, and child in America. That was the bar set for you to be thrown onto that list, and he was done. 15 months later, on June 23rd, 1951, Houldin was spotted in Beaverton, Oregon, by a local resident who had seen his picture in a local newspaper as one of the FBI's 10 Most Wanted. He was arrested at his job site where he worked as a plasterer, and after being extradited to Chicago, he confessed to the murder, was sentenced to life imprisonment, and he died in prison 2 years later. So that was the fate of the original person on the FBI 10 Most Wanted fugitives. As of July 1st, 2025, this is as up to date as I can get it, 537 fugitives have been listed on the 10 Most Wanted list.
Wow.
Only 12 of them were women. Come on, ladies. And 498 of them were captured or located. So that's 93%. 163 of those, so about 30%, were captured due to public assistance. So I would say that's an overwhelming positive. That's an effective tool.
93 is.
Yeah. I would
5%.
tell you right now, if you look at the FBI's most wanted fugitive list right now, none of them ring a bell except for one. His name is Yulan Adonai Achaga Karias. I don't know what he was in there for, but he looks a lot like our painter, Ralph. I don't know, man.
Love Ralph. He talks in.
Yeah, but do you know where Ralph was? Like before he started painting and shit? Think about that.
You got to ask Bridget.
Does
She
that look
loves
like
him.
Ralph? Should
Looks
we?
exactly like
Does Ralph have the nickname Porky?
I don't know. Like that's the whole deal. He's a nice dude,
He's
but
from Honduras.
Is he a menace to every man, woman, and child?
well, I
Is he-
think
He's
that's,
Honduran.
he's Honduran.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow up on this shit, right? Because imagine.
Yeah, but Ralph loves you. He tries
I know
so
he does,
hard.
but
I don't
still.
know.
But what is he there for? Didn't he like kill a bunch of people?
don't
Anyway,
know.
so we'll follow up on that. I may or may not have hired one of the people from the FBI's most wanted list to paint my house.
You
While
never
Vibby goes
know.
over, can you push that door close to while you're over there? While Vibs goes over to.
My underwear's riding up on me. I gotta get off camera to fix it.
That was fun
He
to
does
watch.
look like Ralph. Man.
Right?
You
Send
know
that to
what?
Bridge.
I'm going to send it to Bridget and see what she said. I'm not going to tell her who he is. I'm just going to send it to her.
Yeah. And the second thing in March that made enormous headlines, literally, and I mentioned it at the beginning of this podcast because we talk about elephant executions every now and again.
Oh.
We do.
We
We
do.
talk. It's not the one that you're thinking about. I am going to mention her, but just for people. So we all know about what was it, Blackwater, which was the documentary about the orcas in
right.
SeaWorld.
Yeah.
And everyone was kind of made aware about how shitty
Blackfish?
Blackfish, maybe
I think
something
so.
like that.
Yeah.
And everyone was like made aware of how shitty we treat maybe aquarium animals. I've never seen it, but whatever. I will tell you, Tiger King, you kind of got to see how shitty sometimes big cats are treated and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Elephants have been getting fucked over
Oh, yeah.
in the United States for
I
centuries.
hate zoos, but
centuries.
we've already established
I saw
that.
a picture on the internet yesterday of two elephants grabbing each other's trunks from the
As
back.
they were being separated.
Yes, as they're being separated in India. I'm
Yes.
like, this is the last time they ever saw each other. They
Yeah.
were separated for the rest of their life. And I hit it. I said, I don't want to see any more of this. This
Right.
is depressing me.
Yeah, well, it's
It
going to
ruined
be
my
back,
day.
It's going to be back in the algo today. So let's go
Yeah.
down the list. So in 1860, there was an elephant named Chief, and Chief did something which made people want to kill him, so they electrocuted him. That's how Chief was killed. Albert in New Hampshire in 1885. This was the first public execution of an elephant. They did it by firing squad.
Oh, sweet Albert.
Listen, back then, this was entertainment for people. They sold tickets to elephant executions. Jumbo 2 in 1901. I'm just getting to the 1900s. In Buffalo, New York, an announced public execution for attacking two keepers and a bystander. They failed at electrocuting him because there wasn't enough voltage. I think he wound up going free because they fucked.
yeah.
The whole deal. Jumbo wagged his tail, looked pleased, and just trumpeted a bit. They didn't have enough voltage to take this fucking guy down.
They'll never
Mandarin,
stop him.
somewhere on the Atlantic coast in 1902, he was executed by strangulation. That's so tough.
To wrap your hands around an elephant's neck, that's pretty
1902. The first filmed death of an animal in history was in 1903 when Topsy the elephant was strangled with large ropes tied to a steam-powered winch and poisoned and electrocuted. They made sure they got Topsy. It was the electrocution being the final cause of death. So
They got Topsy.
they poison him, kind of get him a little bit topsy. They start fucking choking him, and then they add a current in front of a crowd of people.
Yeah,
This is bad.
Children going to see this, like, when did you get messed up? It's like, well, probably when I saw the public execution of an elephant.
Yeah, or
when I was
somebody in
8.
the background drop into a knee, make me the happiest man. You know, it'd be my wife. Like, yeah. So, and then Mary the elephant is the one that we know. So Mary the elephant
was
was
horrible.
hanged by a crane in 1916 after a trainer who didn't know much about the animal was jabbed her behind the ear with a hook, and she had like an abscess tooth. So it drove her crazy. She came through her thing, threw the trainer down, stepped on his head, and they wound up hanging her by a crane. And if you don't remember that story, we've mentioned it a couple of times here on Twisted History. They had her chained to a railroad track, essentially handcuffed there by her back leg. They brought in the crane to hang her, but they forgot to take off the shackle for the train track. So as they lifted her, she was wailing because they dislocated her hip before they snapped her neck.
This is awful.
I put a picture of that one. I put a picture of Mary the elephant being executed by crane there. All right. In the 1940s, we're getting 1950, over 20 elephants were killed near Atlanta by poison. They couldn't figure out what it was. They said they might have been grazing in a field that was filled with insecticide. Scientists back then and since then have gone over. There's no way they could have ingested that much poison.
Yeah.
So they think there was a serial elephant poisoner in and around Atlanta in the 1940s, and he got to almost 20 elephants. It's fucking...
And he got away with it.
Yeah.
Sick.
And then let's end it with on March 26, 1950. That's what this is. Dolly, the 27-year-old elephant who was the star of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, killed a 5-year-old boy, Roger Schooley. Roger and his brother had been tossing peanuts to the elephant at the circus's winter quarters in Sarasota, Florida. When Roger ducked under the guard rope to pick up some peanuts on the ground, Dolly grabbed him with her trunk, threw him to the ground, and then crushed his head with her foot. Not good.
No.
Like, I realize it's not good, but Dolly's also a wild animal. 3 days later, she was led into a pit on the outskirts of town, pushed into the pit, given a massive dose of cyanide until she died. Then they just covered her over with dirt.
Do you know what cyanide does to your insides, Mr. Bond?
Yeah. So that was March.
That was Skyfall. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. March had the FBI's 10 most wanted list, and it had another public execution of an elephant and a pretty good James Bond. No, so who is that you're...
That was...
Christoph Waltz?
That was... No. That's Spectre. That was... Javier Bardem when he takes his dentures out or whatever.
Yes,
he's like, "Do you know what cyanide? Yes. It burns your insides."
Right. Yeah, not too bad.
I gotta get back.
They went around the office saying to do your best accent. Did you give them one?
No, I didn't get. They didn't come up to me.
They didn't come up to you.
At least let me comb me hair. It's so wild and bushy. That needs to be on the internet.
You
somewhere.
went Scottish.
Oh yeah,
I went Scottish too.
You did?
So did he.
We're
you fucking cunt.
See, yeah, yours is yeah.
I'm from fucking Scotland.
Yours is more the south.
A little bit of Scott, yeah. You're more of a Highland guy.
Yes.
So that was March. April, we'll move right along. April 1st, April Fool's, 1950, the first United States census was taken. After 7 months of tabulation, the population on that day, April 1st, 1950, was announced to have been 150 million. The population 60 years later, in 2010, had doubled to 308 million, and today it's around 342 million people in the United States. First census was on April 1st, 1950. And then this one's a little bit niche, but on April 14th, 1950, a young woman named Frances Seymour Fonda, she was 44. She was the estranged wife of actor Henry Fonda, whose car is a Fonda Accord. So Frances Seymour Fonda, she was the estranged wife of Henry Fonda, and she was the mother of future actors Jane Fonda and Peter Fonda, committed suicide by cutting her own throat.
Oh.
I didn't know that. Like, Jane Fonda seems like a real, I don't know, she's never really done anything for me. She always seemed like a douchebag, that Hanoi Jane shit. But I didn't know that. I didn't know her mother cut her own throat. She left a note that ended with the words, "I'm sorry, but this is the best way out." She and Mr. Fonda, Henry Fonda, had been considering a divorce since December, though no action had been filed. That evening, Henry Fonda appeared as scheduled for the Broadway performance of the title role of playing Mr. Roberts. That's a little bit fucking heartless, too. Yeah, he went to work the night that his wife had cut her own throat. That's tough.
Might want to, comfort your kids.
Anyway, that happened in April 1950. I thought it was enough. So the census in April, and then Jane Fonda's mom cut her own throat. In May of 1950, Stevie Wonder was born.
Little Stevie.
He was born 6 weeks premature, and that was a factor that contributed to the development of ROP, an eye disorder that causes retinas to develop abnormally and detach, leading to his permanent vision loss. Please don't say that Stevie Wonder can actually see. It's just not true.
Don't start.
Yeah,
You know what? True. We are just going to have to agree that we're not going to discuss this.
The Brooklyn Battery Tunnel opened in May of 1950. The reason I mentioned that is my dad was the only person I've ever saw tip a toll booth guy at the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. My dad was like, man, it was like $3.50 go through. He'd give the guy a $5 every morning. Be like, go get yourself a coffee.
What a classy guy.
He's the best. And for anybody who doesn't know, that's the tunnel they run through for Tunnel to Towers.
Yeah, so Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, which is now I think called the Hugh Carey Tunnel, is the tunnel at the tip of Brooklyn that connects Brooklyn to the southern tip of Manhattan. So
you come out of the Battery Tunnel right at my dad's street.
Oh, yeah. If you exit the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, instead of getting on the West Side Highway, you go up
to Trinity.
To Trinity, and on the corner of Trinity and Thames Street is Emmer Carvey Place. So it's something worthwhile. And during 9/11, a lot of people send me pictures of them visiting with their family. How fucking great is that? It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unfortunately, paid a big price to get there. Also, in May of 1950, a guy named Bill Rosenberg opened a restaurant called... So Bill Rosenberg had a restaurant that he opened in 1948, and that restaurant was called the Open Kettle. And the Open Kettle sold donuts and coffee. In 1950, he rebranded it. This restaurant was in a suburb outside of Boston called Quincy, Mass. And he rebranded it in 1950 to Dunkin' Donuts. So Dunkin' Donuts started in 1950.
I was going to say Open Kettle, great name. I don't know what you change it to be better.
Dunks.
Dunkin' Donuts, that works. Yeah. That's a good one.
Dunkin' now has over 14,000 locations, making it the number 3 globally behind Starbucks, which is number 1 with 35,000 locations, and then Luckin Coffee, which is a Chinese one that has over 20,000 spots. So Starbucks, Luckin, and Dunkin'.
Before you go off the month to month of what things that happen, you have to, as the NASCAR guy mentioned, September 4th, 1950.
Okay.
And that date, NASCAR's first paved speedway, Darlington Raceway, hosts the Southern 500, the first 500-mile event in NASCAR history.
And it's still a ground jewel.
Where's Darlington?
South Carolina. Yeah,
Beautiful
so...
And Johnny Mance was in a Plymouth. He won.
Okay, yeah.
Just kind of cool.
And back then it was stock cars. You could they were building them themselves. It wasn't like they were taking them to break them down afterwards. So it was like it was like people who were active bootleggers who were also racing in NASCAR. NASCAR is an American sport. It was started by ex-bootleggers. Another Massachusetts company started in 1950. I'll mention it real quick. Legal Seafood. They're the place where their chowder has been served in every presidential inauguration since Ronald Reagan. Yeah. I don't know how they got that gig. Reagan had said, I guess you have to have a representative from each state at the inauguration. So it's like they'll have a Georgia peach or, a New York Knish, or I don't know what the fuck it is.
Right.
But from Massachusetts, somehow it's Legal Seafood's chowder, which is very good chowder, but it's in every inauguration since Reagan. It's kind of cool.
It's like Jostens with the Super Bowl rings and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool.
My mom used to work at Legal Seafood.
Get the fuck out of here.
I love that.
What did she do?
Their decor, too.
She worked there. She was a server.
Awesome.
Okay. She wasn't a cook.
Worked doubles, I think at Boston College.
Would she bring home seafood?
No, I wasn't born yet.
Oh.
Yeah, this was in college.
Did
she served Larry Bird one time, right before, and then she was like, who's this guy? And then he got drafted.
Really?
That's awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, your mom met Larry
cool.
Bird, but has she met Larry Bird's cousin? No, I didn't think so.
You did.
My grandparents went up to some guy in a diner and was like, "Are you Larry Bird?" Like, no, I'm his cousin. They took a picture with him. I can't find it.
Awesome.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
They took a picture of Larry Bird's cousin for something?
It could be his cousin. It could be his brother. I'd have to be reminded about the story, but
matter.
I don't know if he has a brother.
Yeah.
That is hysterical. That's like my aunt who used to work with Lurch's son. Like
Lurch from the Addams Family?
Yeah, like there's like all these holiday parties, like all the holiday parties. Like he's in the back and he always like does the stare. I thought that was so funny.
So the history books. So what are we up to? We're up to May. So I told you the Korean War started midway through 1950, and that's where most of the history books then. The rest of 1950 is basically the Korean War. So I don't know. I'm going to give you an idiot's guide to the Korean War because obviously you could do a whole episode on that as well. I'm asking you guys, do you know as much about the Korean War as Vietnam? No, right?
No, not at all.
Do you know as much about the Korean War as you do about the Revolutionary War, John? I mean, anything.
No, just it's.
I know
think it gets glossed over just because it's similar to it's communism. So it's like the pre-fight before it's World War I before World War II, really.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, that's a good way of putting it.
Interesting way to look at it.
That's a very good way of looking at
But
it.
if you were alive during the Korean War, during this whole Cold War developing and stuff, it must have been a terrifying. Let me tell you what it was. So for people who are like us, don't know a lot about the Korean War, here's your Cliff Note version. It involved North Korea, which was supported by China and the Soviet Union, and South Korea, which was supported by the United Nations, including the United States, right? So on February 14th, 1950, Valentine's Day, the Soviet Union and the People's Republic of China signed a mutual defense treaty that would last 30 years. So on Valentine's Day, Russia and China decided to go steady. We all knew about it, and it put the world on high alert. Mm-hmm. So these two big communist powers are now decided that they were going to play nice in the sandbox. Okay? On June 25th, 1950, North Korean forces launched a full-scale invasion across the 38th parallel into South Korea. aiming to unify the peninsula under communist rule, initiating a conflict that would involve UN forces led by the United States and last until 1953. It was a 3-year war. The war claimed more than 30,000 American soldiers and millions of Korean civilians. Millions. Though centralized in Korea, the war rippled around a world that was still recovering from World War II. And here's where we circle back to the Cold War. North Korea was assisted with supplies and strategy by the Soviet allies, with support also coming from the People's Republic of China, whereas the United Nations forces were led by the United States and they were helping out the South. It's very, very easy to understand when you put it down there. 38th parallel, cut the country in fucking half. North Korea invaded South Korea. That started the whole thing. And think about it now, because I mentioned we're getting involved and we have a history of dropping bombs on fucking countries.
Right.
Like, that's our history. So why don't we go and drop a bomb on North Korea? And the reason being is that if we do, that would be a direct slap in the face to the Soviet Union and to China. So we're basically at the brink of nuclear war when it comes to Korea. And Truman is at the helm throughout this whole thing. All right? So the conflict, so it's called the Yo-Yo War because of the back and forth successes and failures. When they invaded South Korea, North Korea made it to the capital of South Korea, Seoul, within 3 days and took it over. Mm-hmm. That potentially ends wars. When you invade a country and take over their capital, that sometimes is done with it. But then we get involved and we push those troops back deep over the 30th parallel into North Korea. And then the Chinese get involved and they push us back. It was the longest. So know this, when the Chinese got involved and pushed us back out of North Korea, after North Korea came into South, we went there. After they pushed us back, it was the longest retreat in U.S. military history. We lost in terms of that. The Chinese pushed us back like you wouldn't fucking believe. The conflict ended in 1953, though technically they still remain at war with the big DMZ, TMZ is something else. The demilitarized zone, the DMZ, still divides those two Koreas. In the United States, we call it the Korean War and sometimes the Forgotten War, as you had mentioned.
Yes, brother.
In North Korea, it's called the Fatherland Liberation War. In South Korea, it's called 625 because it started on June 25th. And China's subtle name for the conflict, when you read Chinese textbooks, just like we have a chapter on the Korean War, in Chinese textbooks, that chapter is called The War to Resist U.S. Aggression and Aid Korea. So there was a very, very definitive Cold War feel to this thing. And honestly, we don't pay enough attention to it. We were inches away from mass destruction. All right, we're going to step away from the calendar for a bit and just give some more insight to the year culturally. So let's talk about two of my favorite things, pornography and sports. What was pornography like in 1950?
Porno. A lot of hair.
A lot of hair.
The diapers.
Oh, it was hip to hip. A lot of hip to hip. But pornographic materials were largely circulated privately through underground networks rather than being openly available. So
in the woods.
Porn in the woods. Stag films, blue movies were produced and shown covertly at private gatherings or in brothels. And due to the intense social disapproval, male actors in these films sometimes concealed their faces with masks or false mustaches, and performers, male or female, were often assumed to be either criminals or prostitutes. Porn wasn't good in the 1950s. I don't know why I looked it up. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
Porn doesn't become porn until, do you know what year is considered the start of the golden age of porn?
Is it Deep Throat? When Deep Throat came out?
Do you know what year it is? It's a very apropos year.
It's
19 years after what we're talking
I
about
was
now.
going to guess 69?
1969.
Yeah.
1969 started the golden age for pornography, and like Deep Throat, Behind the Green Door,
Remember watching that?
The Devil in Miss.
It's like an hour and a half long. I just told my friend I had to watch it. Pete, I'm Googling 1950s porn on the work computer.
Yes.
It's for work. Let it slide.
Yeah. But it wasn't good. Like, that's the whole idea. So there was a certain degree of sexual repression back then. I just wanted to point that out. Let's talk about sports in 1950. In football, the Super Bowl wouldn't exist for another 19 years. The Super Bowl started the same year that the golden age of pornography started. Oh, you're looking at the porn. It's not good, right?
Nah, yeah.
He's visibly disgusted.
It's not good.
It's also in the same way movies. There's kind of like overacting, and it's like they're doing overacting in porn too. Not that acting is leaps and bounds better. It's not like it's great, but it's still this is crazy. They're very.
I mean,
very
I guess
into the motions and
any port in a storm, but that would have been a tough wank. In football, the Super Bowl wouldn't exist for another 19 years, but the Cleveland Browns won the 1950 NFL championship game, defeating the LA Rams 30-28. The game was played on Christmas Eve, which is weird, in Cleveland Stadium, and the championship was the first of three won by Cleveland in the 1950s under head coach Paul Brown. Yeah, it must have been cold as shit. December 24th, 1950, Cleveland Browns won the NFL championship, beating the LA Rams. In baseball, the Yankees swept the Phillies in 4 games in the last World Series without any black American players. After then, it became a little bit more competitive. The Yankee roster included Whitey Ford pitching to Yogi Berra, Billy Martin and Phil Rizzuto patrolling the infield, and they had DiMaggio in center.
Were they called the Browns back then?
That's the whole deal, Annie, because there was all that, when we had talked about mascots, we went into them saying that they called the Cleveland Browns because of Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber. But it wound up being, no, it's because of Paul Brown. But if they won a championship while he was coach, did they? I didn't link that out. I just didn't come back to it. So if somebody wants to get me a look at that timeline on when the Browns became the Browns, they definitely won the NFL championship in 1950, and Paul Brown definitely was the coach. So it could be something totally different. I don't know what the final was. Yeah. So the good paying attention.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I will not talk about DiMaggio's dick again. I just wrote a blog.
You kind of just did.
Yeah, I wrote a blog a couple of weeks ago when Taylor Swift had announced her engagement to Travis Kelce, saying that it was the second largest celebrity engagement of all time behind DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I had talked to the 2 biggest Taylor Swift fans in the world, Kelly and Gia, about that. And they were like, oh my God, they didn't have the historical perspective because they're not old like me, but they're like, I can kind of see that. And I had said, the reason I think it's more important too is, do you think 65 years from now, people will still have images of Taylor Swift on T-shirts like they do Marilyn Monroe? And, they're on the impression that they will, because they think Taylor Swift's the best, which I totally get and I respect. But I don't know if Taylor Swift will ever have the cultural gravitas that Marilyn Monroe had.
Because you know what? In all fairness,
yeah,
in 65 years, Marilyn Monroe will still be on T-shirts.
And I think that's crazy, and I think it's true. Right? And I also don't think Travis Kelce can hold Joe DiMaggio's gigantic jock again because it's huge cock.
That's true.
But I don't think they can. Like, Joe DiMaggio was the guy.
Marilyn Monroe's history, her image is not going anywhere.
Yeah. But anyway, if you think about that 1950s team that beat the Phillies, it was Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford, Phil Rizzuto, Billy Martin, and Joe DiMaggio. That's huge.
Phil Rizzuto.
Since I'm not going to get into Joe DiMaggio, I'm going to get into Phil Rizzuto. Phil Rizzuto is big for me as a kid. Hi, I'm Phil Rizzuto from the Money Store. Right? And being the announcer for the Yankees and stuff like that. Does he have as much with you at Indiana? Do you know?
No, I only know him from Billy Madison. He's like, spell Rizzuto.
Oh, really?
It's like, that's not fair. It's a name. Rizzuto? He's like, would you like to spell Buzz?
Yeah.
And was that the same thing? Am I crazy? Am I making that up? I don't know. I think that's it.
You might have. But his catchphrase was "Holy cow," and people got mad because Harry Carey, Chicago Cubs voice, was using "Holy cow" for years before he did, so it caused animosity.
The Meatloaf song?
So yeah, so when Phil Rizzuto, right, it was his voice that was in Dashboard by the Dashboard Light. Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Yeah.
The Meatloaf song. You know that song, Paradise? Do you know the song?
Something at the edge.
Glowing like the metal on the edge of a knife. So at one point, they have Phil Rizzuto in the background. What?
Is that from the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I don't think so. No. Probably from the Bat Out of Hell album, if I had to guess. Ooh, but anyway, if you're a Meatloaf fan, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, at the end, they have Meatloaf about to fuck a girl, and Phil Rizzuto is in the background saying, he rounds first, goes to third, he may go all the way, and then Meatloaf puts it in. That's not really what happens. But afterwards, Phil Rizzuto said, I had no idea that there was sexual or innuendo involved with me recording that. And Meatloaf said it was bullshit. Rizzuto just said that to appease his religious leaders. Phil Rizzuto was kind of a wimp. He was terrified of lightning. So anytime he was at a game or announcing a game for the Yankees, if there was thunder or lightning in the area, he would get the fuck out of Dodge. He was also afraid of snakes, so much so that opposing players would throw rubber snakes into his baseball glove, and it would get him every time. And he was famous for sometimes leaving the New York Yankees home games when he was announcer to just beat traffic. It'd be like the eighth inning.
That's
and he'd have to make it back to Jersey.
Yeah.
So he was like, you know what? Nothing's going on. End of the eighth inning. You guys got this. And he'd go and fucking beat traffic.
That's insane.
Phil Rizzuto.
That sound like?
Yeah, the second best. A lot of people consider him the second best shortstop in Yankee history. I don't know enough to argue that with, I guess, Jeter being the first. And other people say that Jeter and Phil Rizzuto are two of the most overrated Yankee shortstops in history. Feel how you want about it. I really don't care. Either way, his Yankees swept the Phillies in 1950, excuse me, and then the Yankees and Phillies would not face each other again for 59 years until the 2009 World Series, where the Yankees won this time in 6 games to win their 27th World Series championship.
And just to prove I'm not crazy,
Yeah.
even though the song has nothing to do with the actual movie, it was played before the Rocky Horror Picture Show movies were played in movie theaters to promote the album because Meatloaf had a role in the movie.
Oh, yeah, Meatloaf was in Rocky Horror, which I
just
know.
kinda remember
and,
they were connected. I just didn't know how.
and almost all of his songs do have that rock opera-ish type feel to it,
It's
so it
an
does
8-minute
make sense.
song.
Yeah. So sports so far, we have the Browns are the NFL champions at the time. The Yankees are the World Series champions. In basketball, in 1949, the Basketball Association of America, the BAA, merged with the National Basketball League, the NBL, and they became the NBA. So the inaugural season of the NBA was the 49-50 season. And at the end of the 49-50 season, the Minneapolis Lakers, faced Eastern Division champions Syracuse Nationals, which would eventually become the 76ers, but then they were Syracuse Nationals, in a best-of-7 series with Syracuse having home court advantage, but the Lakers still won in 6. If you look, won in 6 games, if you look at the rosters from either team, you don't recognize anyone except maybe George Mikan. Do you know George Mikan?
I feel like the name Mikan sticks out, but I don't know.
George, you know how to spell.
Was he a coach at a later date?
He was big. He was one of the first big men. He was 6'10". He had like round glasses. He used to shoot underhanded. He was kind of a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 6'10" center George Mikan is the only name I recognized. He looked like a giant Matthew Modine. He was the first player to score 10,000 points in professional basketball. He won 5 championships in 6 years, including the league's first three-peat. And George Mikan is the reason that they widened the lane, installed a shot clock, and invented goaltending. So the way they say that Shaq changed the position forever, Shaq didn't do it until 50 years after George Mikan had changed the center position forever in the NBA.
Revolutionized the game.
Yeah. And then because I'm a boxing guy, the world heavyweight champion that year was a guy named Ezzard Charles. He beat my favorite fighter of all time, Joe Louis, in September of 1950 in a non-sold-out Yankee Stadium, but would later lose to Rocky Marciano twice. I'm going to defend Joe Louis here because Joe Louis came out of retirement to fight Ezzard Charles. He came out of retirement because the IRS was breathing down his neck. He owed a lot of money to the
they'll
fucking
get you.
IRS.
They'll
So
get you. Those
Ezzard Charles,
rats.
arguably one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. He stepped up to heavyweight, was the champion of the world, beat Joe Louis, but then Rocky Marciano, who retired undefeated, had beat up on Ezzard Charles twice. So if you were a sports fan in and around 1950, you knew all of those names, and now you know them as well. What else are we going to touch upon before we leave here? I can't leave 1950 without talking about serial killers, but first, I want to talk about your home security for a minute. I used to think home security was just an alarm that goes off after a break-in, scaring the intruder and getting the neighbor's attention if you're lucky. But that's a reactive approach. By the time an intruder is in your home, it's too late. Your feeling of safety is shattered. That's why real security should stop a crime before it starts, and that's why I trust SimpliSafe. Their system is designed to be proactive, not reactive, and here's how. They use smart AI-powered cameras to identify threats lurking outside your home and immediately alert SimpliSafe's professional monitoring agents. They have agents intervene in real time, before the break-in even begins. They access two-way audio to confront the person, trigger sirens and spotlights to scare them off, and request rapid police dispatch when needed, all helping to stop the intruder while they're still outside. Now that is real security. So visit SimpliSafe.com/twisted to claim 50 half 100, 50% off a new system. That's SimpliSafe.com/twisted. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, let's end with some 1950 serial killers.
What a spot to put that ad in, right?
Yeah,
Serial
I think
killers,
it's good,
and then
right?
boom, yeah.
Yeah, so back in
Very
1950,
well
there were people looking to get into your house. You were fucked. In 2025, you're not, because SimpliSafe can be proactive. In 1950, there were 4 main serial killers on the loose in the United States. 2 of those 4 actually hunted together. They were a couple, so we'll start with them. Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck were a serial killing couple who killed anywhere from 3 to 20 people in Michigan and New York from 1947 to 1950. They were eventually caught. Both were put to death by electric chair in Sing Sing on March 8th, 1951. So they got caught in 1950. They were both electrocuted in less than a year. That's progress. The death penalty was vibrant back in 1950. 83 men were put to death that year, mostly by gas chamber or electric chair, with only 2 of the 83 being hanged. And that was a down year for executions. 1949, we had 120 executions in the United States. 1950, we had 83. Then 1951, it went back over 100 with 101. So those 2 guys, Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck. Martha actually had a glandular problem. She was,
don't we all?
She was considered like morbidly obese back then. Like today, she could probably be a New York City cop, but back then. Right. And so she finally found somebody to kind of love her for who she was, but he was a serial killer, and she was like, I'm game. So she had 2 kids at the time. She dropped them off the Salvation Army and then started traveling with him and killing people by saying, hey, listen, you want to come back to my house? By the way, my brother lives with me. Then he would pop out and kill them. Or he would be like, you want to come back to my house? By the way, my fat sister's there too. And then she would kill them. So they were like, by
the way, my fat sister's going to watch. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, I got no problems with that.
Yeah.
The next was a guy named Harvey Glattman.
Harvey.
A serial killer and rapist posing as a professional photographer to lure his victims with the promise of a modeling career.
A multitasker.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd fall for that.
Oh.
Yeah. Glattman was arrested in 1958, caught in the act of kidnapping what would have been his 4th known victim. He confessed to 3 murders and eventually led the police to a toolbox containing pictures he had taken of his victims. He was found guilty, sentenced to death, and executed in the gas chamber at San Quentin on September 18th, 1959. Arrested in 58, dead in 59.
Used to be quick and efficient.
I saw like death row back then. The average stay in death row was anywhere between 1 and 4 years. I think now it's like 15.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Wow, he looks like I'm looking at the what's their name? Martha and
Martha Beck and Raymond Fernandez.
Yeah, he looks just like the guy from
Our
Bewitched.
painter.
No, by the way, but did you see what
Old
Bridget
Porky.
wrote back about the painter?
I did not.
She's like, "Whoa, that looks like Ralph. Ralph has a past."
Yeah, maybe.
What did she call? What did she actually? To quote her, she's very funny. She wrote, "That's Ralph," and then she says, "Bro, Pujol has a past."
Yeah. So the 4th of
He
the
looks
serial.
like Darren from Bewitched.
Oh yeah, a little bit. The 4th serial killer I'm going to mention
Yikes.
is a woman, Nanny Das. She was a serial killer with 11 victims. She operated between 1927 and 1954. Those victims were her 4 husbands, 2 children, 1 of her sisters, her mother, 2 grandsons, and a mother-in-law. So her all 11 victims were related to her. She was caught in 1955 and given a life sentence instead of the death penalty. She spent 10 years in jail before dying of leukemia. What do all 4 of those serial killers have in common? Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck were known as the Lonely Hearts Killers. Harvey Glattman was known as the Lonely Heart Killer. And Nanny Das was known as the Giggling Granny, the Jolly Black Widow, and the Lonely Heart Killer.
That's creepy.
And the reason it is because Lonely Heart ads were like dating sites back then. They were called Lonely Hearts ads. So every newspaper had Lonely Hearts ads. They were personal advertisements placed by individuals in newspapers or online to find companionship, friendship, or a romantic partner. Historically, they were known as personal or matrimonial ads, and in an era before online dating, they served as a way to meet people outside of one's immediate social circle and are now finding a digital resurgence in like Reddit and Instagram. Some specialized Lonely Hearts publications cater to specific demographics, such as gay men in the early 20th century who used coded language to find partners in a society that criminalized same-sex relationships. Some abbreviations describe the advertiser and targeted the ad by marital status, ethnic group, and sex, such as me, MWM. That would be what I am, a married white male.
You'd be ham.
DBF, divorced black female. And some indicated a common characteristic, such as GSOH, good sense of humor, or NS, non-smoking. WLTM, would like to meet. LTR, looking for a long-term relationship. NTW, no time wasters. OHOC, owns house, owns car. GAM, gay Asian male.
If I had $1 for every time I've posted GAM.
And VF is the abbreviation for very fair or light-skinned. So right now, I am a...
No, you're a HAM.
What's that?
Oh, come on.
Hot
and meaty.
Oh, hot and meaty, yeah. But I'm a married white male who's also VF. I own a house and own a car.
NTW.
I would like to meet, and the whole deal. So anyway, this is how serial killers found their victims back in the 1950s, particularly in 1950. They would go to these want ads, essentially. It was the beginning of like Grindr and whatnot. Yeah. And they'd be like, hey, there's a gay Asian guy who owns a house and he's looking for no long-term relationships and no games. Let's go visit this dude. And then me and my fat sister will kill him and stuff like that.
Oh, if only I had a fat sister to partner.
If only you had a fat sister. So that's how serial killers operated in 1950. That's what happened in sports in 1950. That was politics in 1950. That was the gigantic war that started in 1950. I don't know what else to cover. I will ask you guys, knowing everything that we know now, is there one thing from 1950 before we wrap up that you guys would like to see come back? I don't know. What would you miss from 1950?
Can I have two.
Go.
One, the flat top haircut.
Flat top haircut.
A haircut you can set your watch by.
Oh, man.
All business. And like the Johnny Unitas haircut. Love it.
Oh, it's the best.
We need that back. Newspaper would be the other one. That we get rid of social media. And we figure out our news from the newspaper. Sports, reading sports in the newspaper, that was the best.
Lonely Hearts Club.
Standings. Hey, I'm looking for a GAM. an OHOC GAM.
Right. Owns car.
Yeah.
A Chinese gay guy who has his own house and has his own car.
That's all we all really want.
Newspapers and flat tops. John, do you wax nostalgic to bring back anything from 1950?
Well, that's way too old for me. I'm young.
Right. You are. You're far, far too young to want anything to come back.
But you're classy. You're seasoned. So I think you would do well then.
But, I have no idea though.
Yeah.
It's all in black and white to me.
Yeah. Annie, what do you miss?
Okay, so for me, first I would go LTR. I always like long-term relationship, and I don't want any. I'm an NTW, no time wasters.
No time wasters. That's what you would want from 1950?
No. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Just since we're mentioning, because I'm applauding his GAM.
Sure.
Yep.
But in the same vein as Vibsy, I would say bring back sock hops. Kids have no interaction off their phones. Like he was
dances.
saying, there's no dances.
We used to have sock hops back in like 5th grade or
ours were called canteens.
4th grade.
We used to have teen dances.
Did they not do that for kids anymore?
They don't. So
kids.
when they have like a homecoming,
yeah,
and the kids go for like a social, they don't play any slow songs, so the kids are not allowed to slow dance.
Yep.
And it's like all this.
Leave space for Jesus.
They're not even like able, like the music they don't even dance to. Like the kids just stand around on their phones taking selfies.
Right.
So I think a sock hop where you have to leave your phones at home.
Yeah.
And have an old school interact, like a real deal sock hop where the kids go and dance and have line dances and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that would be something that would be great for the kids now socially, because some of my fondest memories too growing up was going to like teen dances in Brooklyn and stuff like that.
Let them grind on each other.
You have to leave the phones home. Like they have to put them in the little cubbies when they get into class now.
Right.
Like it's like a little shoe rack that they put in. I think that. And the other thing I think they should bring back is, I know this, I'm going to get dragged for this, but Christian Dior brought a whole new line of clothes back then that was really focused on like femininity and the shape of a woman's body, and I love that look. I think it's
1950s
classy.
fashion?
Like it was like they would wear pearls in the day, but then at night it was like glitzy and like people got dressed up to go to the movies.
It's cool to look at. Like, I think
cool to
looking
look
at footage like that, like
Yeah.
guys showing up to the table in collared shirts and ties and stuff.
I
do kinda
love
miss a little
that.
bit.
Going to a baseball game in like a wool 3-piece suit.
It
just
looked
like,
difficult, but still.
No, there is something about it because now I just go to the movies and I'm wearing sweatpants with stains on them, and I just look like
Right.
a
And I
bum.
love that too. I'm not dissing that on a Sunday morning. I just mean there was so much more pride in the way people dressed and went out.
Yeah.
Just for that, like church, I see so many kids showing up in their uniforms, which is great that they're just going. But, like sweatpants and Uggs.
How do you feel about wearing a football jersey in the house of the Lord? Is that would you frown upon that? Because whenever we would go to church, people would show up in their Colts jerseys on Sunday and be like, "Hey, we got kickoff at 1:00,
Yeah, exactly.
but we're here."
It's my church.
I'm just saying, I like the idea of
I think it's a good idea too. The only thing I would bring back probably from the 50 or from 1950 would definitely be segregation. All right, so that's it for night. No, I'm only kidding. I would like if we had as a country, if we had like that one single enemy again. I don't know what it is.
Nothing
but
unites us like us versus them.
yeah, I mean, I say that about
Communism's coming back.
communism is coming back, but I think like there's so much, and this isn't a broader political type thing, but there's so much like intra like country hate that even if you hate Palestine or if you hate Israel, I think people nowadays just hate Americans who like Palestine or like Israel. You know what I mean? Like it was easy to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 80s because there was always an enemy that you could put on the other side from him. I don't know who that enemy necessarily is then. So there was a little bit, and I know it sounds kind of Pollyannish. There's no way to get back to it, and it's just the way that it is. But it was kind of cool then when it was almost like us against them.
It makes a damn good Rocky movie.
Yeah, like there's
we got
stuff
an
like that.
enemy,
I
yeah.
think it's just different. And it's not just something that happened in 1950, but in 1950, believe me, everybody was like, Russia, China, bad.
Well, you say that's why we lasted so long.
Yeah, and I say that about relationships. I think
Yeah.
if you're going to go and marry or date somebody where you have a lot of things in common that you love, it can only go too far. Find somebody who hates the same things that you hate, and I think it helps out a lot. I do. I
Because we're
believe
nothing
that.
alike.
Yeah, so segregation I don't want actually, but I think like sometimes when you have that common enemy, it sometimes sort of
This
moves
is a great
things away
segue.
from people
Let's
killing
talk
each other.
2 hours about the 1940s and when we had a common enemy.
Let's go. Yes, exactly. Yeah, World War II. Very easy. Nobody grew the mustache and we got rid of the fucking name. All right, so that's it for us in this episode of Twisted History. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any ideas of what we should ask Ken Burns, as always, send them in and we'll consider them or throw them away. And we appreciate the continued
And
support.
Next week you have a big interview for
Oh, yeah, I got Conor
Boston
McGregor
boxing.
in. I got Conor McGregor in the house to do some stuff because he's doing shit with Bare Knuckle. I'm doing stuff with BKC this weekend. I'll be up in Salamanca, New York for some Bare Knuckle.
And the Ken Burns thing is about not the Patriot War. What the fuck is it?
The Revolutionary War.
Revolutionary
brother.
War.
What founded this goddamn country?
So,
That's right.
so the
And what do
Ken
you have
Burns
coming
thing
up?
is being around what he's doing with the Revolutionary War?
Well, no, meaning it's coming out a few days later. So
Oh,
I think
good. So
we
he's
get him on the
promoting that.
7th, and then I think it comes out.
it drops. Yeah.
the next week.
Do we
the
get-
16th? I want to say.
Do we
Oh,
get
I
the
thought it-
advances on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Do you have it
I
already?
texted it to you.
Did
I
you
texted
really?
the group, brother.
You
I'll send
sent
it
us the
again.
link?
I'll send it again.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's watch
I almost
it.
said the password to it.
That would be
Like, yeah, you know what it
This
is.
is where our public high school or our public education really kicks in with this
really
war.
does go well. So you're welcome for now knowing about Harry Truman and the Korean War, and we'll see you next time on Twisted History.